Hello everyone, it's time to start going deeper into the tactical world, and we're going to talk today about forks. A fork is a deadly weapon that you really need to master and make it part of your arsenal. Not only is it a very powerful tactic, but this is a tactic that is very common to have in your games. So we just need to train our brain to detect it when you have it. And also if you get really good at it, you could try to fabricate it. You could try to create the right conditions for you to execute a fork and get ahead in the game. On the title you read forks and double attacks. So basically a double attack is when you attack two of your opponent's targets at the same time. And a fork is one of the ways that you do it. Now I wanted to start by showing you the first few moves of a game played by a student of mine, and that way you can see how easy it was for him to find a few forks just at the beginning of his game. So the game started with pawn to e4, controlling the center, then pawn to e5, and after knight c3, his opponent went queen f6. And it looks like maybe they want to try to do the four move checkmate or something like that. But what matters here is that the white pieces immediately spotted a fork. They went knight d5, attacking the queen, and attacking a pawn that is not defended. And then to make things even worse, the black pieces went queen e6, saving the queen, but then they didn't protect the pawn. So when the knight went to the pawn, this is another fork. They're attacking the king, the queen, and the rook. So when the king moved, because it's in check, then the knight was able to capture the queen. Now this is a person that clearly has trained forks, so that's what we're going to be doing right now. Here we go. Here it is the white pieces to move, and all I need you to tell me is where can I put this knight so that he attacks more than one black piece at the same time. And if you want, pause the video if you want to do it on your own. But basically the move that I'm looking for here is knight f7. So imagine the knight going to f7, and you will see how the knight is attacking the king, the rook, and also the pawn. So now in chess you can now move twice, so he cannot protect them all at the same time. So after you go knight f7 and the king moves because he's in check, then you're going to go after the rook. And like that you're going to be ahead in the game. Now we started off with a knight fork because knights are one of the trickiest pieces when it comes to forks. You could do forks with all of your pieces, pawns, kings, bishops, rooks, queen, but the knights is really cool when it comes to forks. So here we go. That's basically a fork. You make the move, you made a move and you attacked more than one piece at the same time. So they can only protect one, you're going to get the other one. All right, next one. Here again, guys, whenever I present you with a new exercise, feel free to pause the video automatically and try to find it on your own. But if not, just keep on going, and then you're going to go over the answer with me. So here we go. White pieces to move. We're going to be using this time the bishop. So where can the bishop go so that he attacks two of my opponent's pieces at the same time? Well, I'm going to go taking the pawn, and then from here, I'm attacking the king and the rook at the same time. So I capture. If the king moves, because he's in check, I'm going to get the rook. If they block the check with the rook, well, I'm going to get it anyways. Now, as you go through these exercises, notice that it's not only about attacking two of my opponent's pieces at the same time, it has to make sense. Like you want to attack two pieces that are not protected, so when he moves one of the two, you're going to get the other one. Or if they're protected, you want to attack pieces that are more valuable than the one that you're using. Like in this case, let's say I had a pawn here. I still want to do the fork because even though this piece is protected, well, it's more valuable than my bishop, so it makes sense for me to go ahead and capture the rook. So it's still a fork that makes sense. All right, next one is the white pieces to move again. How can we create a fork? Well, this one is more straightforward. If you paused the video and you found it, congratulations. But basically the move is this. We're going to push the pawn up, and now this pawn is attacking the king and the rook at the same time. The king cannot capture because he's protected by the rook. So now when he moves, and let's say he moves here, you could collect the rook, and once you get your queen, you could do the two rook checkmate that we learned. Even though this is a queen, remember that the queen could move like a rook, so you could go ahead and finish the game easily because you know the two rook checkmate. Okay, so now it's time to see if you're getting the hang of it or not. So in this position, as you can see, we have way more pieces. It should be way more difficult to find the right move to create a fork. Don't get intimidated by positions like this. The way this works is, like I explained before, if you do enough exercises, you get really comfortable with this pattern. Whenever you're playing a game or I show you a position like this, your brain is quickly going to narrow it down to the potential moves here. Like, we're going to focus in this position on this knight that is so close to the black pieces. And for this exercise, just try to look at the different squares the knight could jump to. Like, he could jump here, 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 and here. So he has 8 different squares to jump to. But don't think this is going to be like this every time. When you get really good at this, the moment you look at the position, you're just going to see the right move. It's just going to come to mind. At least the top candidate moves. So now, if we look at a move like knight g6, you're going to realize that from here we're attacking the queen and the rook, but it's not safe. It's technically a fork, but it's not safe because they could capture you with either of the pawns. So I don't want to go somewhere to be captured. If we look at a move like knight d7, well, from here I'm attacking the king and the pawn. But there are two things that are not good about this. Number one, the queen could take me, so still doesn't work. But even if the queen couldn't get me, this doesn't make any sense. The moment the king moves, I'm not going to go for this pawn. That pawn is protected by 2 pieces. So that's why I said before, you want to attack pieces that are either hanging, they're not protected by anyone, or you want to go after pieces that are more valuable than your own piece. In this case, more valuable than my knight. So what is the right answer here? Well, the move is knight c6. From here, I'm attacking the king and I'm attacking the queen. So notice that I'm also attacking the pawn, but that pawn doesn't make sense. When the king moves, let's say he goes here, that pawn is going to be protected. And of course, I want to get the most powerful piece. So knight takes queen, and I just won material because of that fork. So again, I couldn't get the queen in one move, but thanks to the fork, that queen is going to be attacked, cannot go anywhere. When the king moves, I collect the queen. Alright, so this is going very smoothly, but now this is an exercise that is going to be really annoying for you. And take some time, see if you can find the move to create a fork. If you looked at a move like knight e6, notice that this is a fork, I'm attacking the rook and the pawn, but they could easily move the rook up, and now the rook is safe, and it's also protecting the other target. So I'm not going to get anything. That's not an effective fork. So the right move is going to be actually knight d7. I'm attacking the king, this pawn, and even better, the rook. So now when the king moves, I could go for the pawn or the rook. Of course, I'm going to go for the more valuable piece, the rook. And now, like I said, this is going to be an annoying exercise, and you're going to see why. So I'm attacking this pawn. Let's say they moved it, and we're going to continue the game. Let's say they moved the pawn to be safe. Now, let's see if you can find another fork for the white pieces. Where can they go to create a fork? Well, I hope you found it. This knight now is going to move to e6. From there, I'm attacking the king and the pawn. So check. Let's say that the king moves. Well, now I collect the pawn. And let's say this king moves again. He goes over here. Pause the video again, see if you could find another fork. White pieces to move, they create a fork. Well, the move is knight f5. You see, from here, there's another fork. Now, let's say that the king goes here, I capture the pawn, and then the king continues to go after my knight. And if this is not annoying enough yet, well, now you have to find another fork. So the move here for the next fork is knight to g4. Now, this is not that effective because the king could easily get out of check and still protect the pawn. But for the sake of practicing this pattern, let's say that the king goes over here. Well, I'm going to take the pawn, and then let's say he goes here to attack my knight. Well, let's see if we can find the last fork in this exercise. White pieces to move, they create another fork. Well, this time the move is going to be knight to d7. I'm attacking the king, and I'm attacking the pawn. See, if the king wasn't attacked, this pawn could probably move up. But now he needs to move the king, and then I get this pawn. Well, enough knight forks for now. In this case, it's the white pieces to move again. There's another piece that could actually attack two of the black pieces at the same time. And if you haven't found it, Well, the answer is rook goes to c6. We're attacking the king, check. When the king moves, we collect the knight. So let's say we go rook c6, moves, and we capture. This one is pretty simple. I wanted to show you how the king can also create a fork. And if you think about it, all we have to do is find a way for this king to attack these two pieces at the same time. Well, the move is actually king to f5, and he's going to get one of these two no matter what. And let's say he moves the knight, we collect the bishop, and as you should know by now, this is going to be a draw because of insufficient material. Okay, next one. Here it's black pieces to move again, and you're going to see the queen in action. The queen is going to make a move so that she creates a fork. And I'm pretty sure you have it by now, but the answer is queen goes to e3. So the queen is attacking the king and the rook at the same time. So check. When the king moves, then we collect the rook. Okay, last but not least, this is one of the trickiest exercises you're going to be doing today. That's why I left it for last. And I want you to really try to do it on your own. Take a few minutes, take 3, 4, 5 minutes if you need to. It's the white pieces to move. They only have 2 pawns and the king. So pause the video, try to find it. If you did, congrats. If you didn't, let's go over it quickly here. So we have this king. The king cannot go anywhere to attack the 2 black pieces at the same time. This pawn can only go here or here, and none of those moves is going to create a fork. So we are left with this pawn, and he can only move forward. And then if we promote and we get a queen, well, that's good, but it's not a fork. So the question is, what piece can I promote into so that it creates a fork? Well, the move is going to be the knight. So we under promote to a knight, and that creates a fork. The king moves, and we get the queen. All right, guys, so I hope that with these exercises you got to practice and you understand what a fork is. So if anyone asked you, you should be able to explain what a fork is. But then your job is not done here. The next step for you is to go to the link that I'm going to provide for you here and do more exercises. If you really want to be able to play a game and detect any forks that are present in your games, or if you want to be able to fabricate and create the right conditions to do a fork, you have to really understand the pattern and you see it automatically. So for that, you have to do more exercises on your own. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time.